Hello, and welcome to 4-Minute Firsts, where we give you a fast first impression of a new #1 issue in 4 minutes or less. This week, we're looking at a new Greg Rucka title with art by Leandro Fernandez entitled The Old Guard. The series looks to follow a group of immortals, or at least a bunch of rather difficult to kill folks who've yet to meet their end. As the credit page explains, they cannot die, mostly. And at least one of them, Andy, the female member of the group and our narrator, has grown bored of life. It's not been stated explicitly in the comment, but Rucka said in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, which I'll link below, that she is over 5,000 years old. Now, Rucka has another great ongoing title in Lazarus, which is also about an immortal, but the treatment between the two is significant. In Lazarus Forever, the protagonist is relatively new to the immortality business, and her immortality works radically differently. Hers is born of science and spare body parts, whereas there's a mythic or a mystic element at work to the immortality of the old guard. They've also been immortals for ages, and the novelty of living forever has long worn off. The group is comprised of Andy, Booker, Joe, and Nikki, all of whom are soldiers from days long since past. They continue to leverage both their previous occupations and their unkillableness as mercenaries in present day. Seems reasonable enough. They take a job from a former employer, which Andy explains they never do, probably in order to keep a tight lid on the fact that they can't die. But their contact leans on their heartstrings by saying a bunch of young girls have been kidnapped, and the old guard violates that no-repeat protocol. And by the end of the comic, they're going to wish they hadn't. Rucka's story and Fernandez's art might be the best coupling since Peanut Butter and Chocolate. Now, they've worked together before on another of Rucka's titles, namely the Crystal Ball arc of Queen and Country. In Old Guard, Fernandez uses colors masterfully, and I don't toss that word around very often. He depicts a sunset over the course of 3 pages that is hard not to appreciate, and it is nothing more than some background color. He also does this amazing trick where the color sort of bleeds off of a page wherein a character is bleeding out from a slit throat, and it manages to make a very dim and grim scene rather beautiful. Even the letterer, Jodi Wynne, gets in on the action and makes the pages come alive. She gets in on the fade out in the throat slit scene by graying out the words in the dialogue bubbles to convey them growing distant as the young woman slips into death. But her best work comes in a firefight involving the old guard a little later in the comic, when she occupies the empty or the negative space on the page with onomatopoeia, literally filling the page with sound. Very cool. Now, in the same Entertainment Weekly interview that I mentioned earlier, Rucka explained that the old guard will be comprised of 5-issue arcs, each with its own ending. This is great news for trade paperback buyers, as each trade will be complete in and of itself if read in isolation. But of course you'll want to read them all to gain the benefits of time spent with the characters for development's sake. Couple the 5-issue arc idea with the fact that Image always has a $9.99 cover price for the first trade in a series, and the Old Guard is not only a solid addition to your comic library, but it's also a financially reasonable one. So now you've got options. You could download the Old Guard #1 on Comixology. You can pick it up from your local comic shop using the handy-dandy comic shop locator linked in the description, or you can wait a little while and grab issues 1 through 5 in trade form for $10. What isn't optional, however, is giving Rucka's newest series a look. Well worth it. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another 4-Minute Firsts, but for now, later nerds.